that Hashem is Hashgacha Pratit. So let me give you the text that I brought here today. It's from a little sefer called Ve'ereneinu from Rav Reuven Sasson. I'm just going to give you a little bit, a paragraph, and we'll see where it goes. B'yom Rosh Hashana, HaKadosh Baruch Hu megale et midat milchato. The Malchuto, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah reveals the midah of his malchus, of his reigning, of his being the melech. V'gilui zeh mashlich al tfisat ha'metziut kula. And this revelation spreads about the understanding of all reality. In other words, there's something in the air on Rosh Hashanah that we can tap into, that you feel it. There's some holy presence there. The rest of the year, we're not really aware of that presence unless you're tapping into it until you do your avoda. On Rosh Hashanah, there's something that's palatable. It's not that we just understand that there is a king to the world, but we also understand reality, that this is the place of Hashem, including ourselves, that we are part of this Hashem's reality. Because there's a concept saying there's no king without a nation. What does that mean? There's no king without a nation. A king is nothing if he doesn't have subjects to accept him as king. Who's he going to be ruling over? King over, what's that? Is there an expression like that? No, I'm thinking of jack of all trades and master of none. But you know, but that's not what I'm thinking of. But I think there's something similar about being a king. You can't, to be a king, you need subjects. If you don't have subjects to accept your kingship, so okay, big deal, you're a king. What are you a king over? Yeah, it's good to be king. It's good to be king, but you have to have someone to acknowledge your kingship for you to really be a king. So let's say it's good to be a king. Let's say we need to be kings of our own selves. We need to have ruling power. Moach, lev, kaved. We have to be a melech. We have to have our intellect ruling our emotions and our instincts. We have to have idbonenut, and that's a person who has malchus on himself. He can rule. If his lev is ruling, then it's lemech. You know who Lemech was in Bereshis? He's not someone we want to emulate. Okay, he's someone that went with his emotions, and he was Cain's great grandfather, and he ended up being killed by Cain himself. No, Lemech killed. I got the story wrong. But anyway, whatever. He had 2 wives. It's a whole funny story there in Bereshis. It's like an interesting story, but we don't want to be like Lemech. He's an example of what not to be. If you allow the kaved, if you allow the instincts, the desires to rule you, the biology of us, of our instincts, to just like the blood coursing through our veins to rule, then you spell it kaf lamed mem, opposite. You know, you have an instinct to do something, your emotions are agreeing with it, yeah, go for it, and then your head finds excuses why it's okay to do it. That's kalem, that spells kalem, opposite of melech. All of these are the same 3 letters. What does kalem mean? It means to off with them. Busha v'chlima, but the word klum is coming from there, like you're nothing. But like kalem means like it's a reference to being brought to nothing. So we have to have malchus, but even in our own selves, who am I ruling? If I'm ruling over my limbs, if I'm ruling over my emotions, if I'm ruling over my faculties, then I'm a melech on self. So we have to have, but it's like I'm ruling over something. I'm ruling over my emotions. So every melech needs something. Okay, there's no melech without an am, witut subject. If that's the case, then the subjects take a respectable, represent a respectable expression of the value of kingship of that king. In other words, how respected a king is dependent on how much the subjects are accepting his rulership upon them. And if the king is important, then the subjects who are who are subjecting themselves to the rule of the king are partaking of the importance of that king also, because they are part of this malchus. I'm important because I'm serving an important king. Yeah. Bnei Amo shel hamelech hem avadav. The people of the nation of a king, they are his servants. V'rak mikocham mitbaseset malchuto. And it's only from their koach that his rulership has foundation. If they decide that he's not their king anymore and rebel, then he loses his stature also. So it's a two-way street, right? The king needs the people to serve him, and that brings importance to the king and to the subjects. And if it's not the case, then everybody loses. Like there's no king and there's no respect and there's nothing. דומה הדבר לרב גדול שערכו עומד מצד עצמו, אך ככל שירבו תלמידיו, כך יבואו כבודו וערכו לידי ביטוי. This, Rav Reuven Sasson says, this is compared to a big rabbi who has a very big value, and he's very important, and he's on his own, like he's standing on his side, like he's sitting alone in his basement just learning. But the more students he has, so too his importance will come into expression. His importance will be manifested more with the more students that he has, the more respect he has, the more emulating students he has. This raises up the stature of this rabbi. So too is the king, and because his ashpa and his light and his Torah can spread out more, so there's more godless there. When a person stands by himself, when we are living in this world and we don't see ourselves as subjects of the king of the world, we think we're functioning as individuals separated from the creator. The person sees himself as a separate entity, separate, like independent reality. Lo kashur, not related to anything outside themselves. So if that's the case, that all of his value and all of his significance of this person is coming out from what? From koach atzmo, from his own potential, from his own power, disconnected from anything else. So how big could that be? And whatever he finds in himself, that's what he is. Are you following? Should I say it in different words where this is good? This could be the hashkafa of a person considering himself as a separate entity. So what makes you important? My ability to paint, my ability to read a book, my ability to do what? To do this, that, and the other thing. If I think my significance comes from things that come from myself, so I'm limited to those things. He only sees himself circling around the center of his own universe. That's it. And he thinks that his actions only can have hashlacha. No, hashlacha, not shlichut. No, not from that. Hashlacha means to project it. Hashlacha, projection. He thinks that his actions, therefore, have only projections concerning himself. If I do something, what's it to you? I'm taking care of my business. It's like the somebody sitting in a boat drilling a hole under his seat, and people are saying, "What are you doing?" My seat, not under your seat. He thinks he's only affecting himself because he's the center of his own universe. There's only his universe that counts, and so he's limited. He's limiting his own ability to affect people. But from that story, it's not so, because you're affecting people negatively because we are connected. So whatever selfishness that you buy, it's going to This is how a person with small horizon gauges himself. Without any awareness for the self-importance that he has. That he has as a representative of the king, of the supernal king. There's a king to the world, there's Melech Leolam. But when we live in a selfish, egotistical thing, and we think, what's it to you? I can do what I want. He doesn't understand. He's devaluating his importance. Don't you understand how much more important you are if you are a representative of the king and not just a representative of yourself? So with this type of outlook, with this type of self-centered outlook, a person is he's rebelling against the tafkid that he's supposed to have in this world. He forgets that he's here to serve, not just be served. What?
Excuse me. I'm just thinking that this is the strength of all the shluchim, the Chavadniks.
Yes. But all of us, your shlichut. Look. Why do you think you got this house? Because of your shlichus. They saw your Mesiras Nefesh. This woman, it can just accept living in that hole in the wall. If I'm telling you I'm hole in the wall, I'm not even exaggerating. Seriously, hosting 30 to 40 people every Friday night, every Shabbos, waiting for them to leave. And they don't say it's time to leave, Chevra, because we need to move the table so we can open up to sleep, our futon to sleep on. It's like, who does that?
It's not, can I say, like, I was at those meals. It's not only hosting 30 people for the meal, but then like Rosh Hashanah would be walking home from shul and he would find like a group of like 50 more people and bring them in to hear Kiddush. I remember, I witnessed.
This is like your shlichus, shlichut, because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing Hashem. And when you're representing Hashem, you know what you have? You have the koach of Hashem. If you're only representing yourself, you only have as much koach as you have. Now, I know I've told this story before, but I'm going to say it again because I think there's a new audience here. In Montreal, I used to host a lot. Baruch Hashem, thank God. It was normal for me to leave at a certain point, stop, schlepping out the next table, just leave it from Friday to Friday. We had like also 20 to 30 people every Shabbos, like running, constant. So, Baruch Hashem. Yeah. And one time I had a Shabbaton. I also had Shabbatonim around. One time there were 26 people, aside from my own family, which were 9 nefashot in our family. Okay, Baruch Hashem. And we had like 26 other people sleeping over. Like thank God I had a big house. But you still, like, we don't have 26 beds. But people just like, whatever, everywhere you could just drop, you dropped. And that's what it has. I forget which the rabbi was the Shabbaton. It could have been Gedalia Fear that was the rabbi at that Shabbaton. Like he was staying over too. Oh, with that rabbi also staying over. Anyway, that morning, that Friday morning, I'm waking up and I'm exhausted. And I still have so much more to do. And I have a lot of sheets to clean and I have to get ready and I have to like prepare. And I'm just tired. And when I'm tired, I have to tell you, I'm not pretty. I'm grumpy. I'm snappy. Some people, everyone has their style of what their tired looks like. Me, it's not pretty. And I'm thinking like, I'm feeling it. Right? I'm saying, I can't. I'm doing all of this and I want this mitzvah, Hashem. And what is this bad mood that any kid of mine is going to come into my room wanting something? I'm going to snap their head off and I'm going to spoil everything. I'm going to show up at the table. I'm going to be exhausted after doing everything and it's going to be so beautiful. And what now? Yeah. So I refused to get out of bed. I said, Hashem, I'm not getting out of bed until you fix this. I am not leaving bed until you fix this, Hashem. So, okay, what? I'm not going to be exhausted. I'm working outside the home, and then I'm coming in to do all of these hosting and cooking and schlepping and everything. Like it's normal. But what's with the bad mood? Can't you just leave me tired? I'll accept the tired, but get rid of the bad mood. Why does that have to go together? I accept tired. I don't accept bad because the bad mood is going to spoil it. I don't want to lose the mitzvah from a bad mood. And everybody has to feel good. So I want to be the presence of also feel good, not just good chicken soup. So So I sat in bed and I was like, and I looked at it. I had a visual of some round globe that tired was on one side and ugly bad mood was on the other side. And I said, I'm not leaving this bed until those two get untwined and separate. And then I looked at it, and if I worked on it, I begged Hashem, please, no, I've been in those matzavim before when I came exhausted, and like people said, like, what are you doing this? You clearly cannot handle this, so give it up. I have one sister-in-law telling me, why do you do it? You're clearly like tired. And I said, so I'm gonna give up on the mitzvah and not be tired. And then what I'm gonna have at the end of the day, not tired. But I'm gonna do the mitzvah and I'm gonna fight the tired. And then what am I gonna have at the end of the day? An amazing mitzvah. Like, what should I be giving up? The mitzvah or the other stuff? Like, you have it all wrong. So that's what I was working on. And I saw that circle, and at a certain point I saw like a zigzag, like a crack between them. And I'm saying, oh, crack. And then I saw them like slowly shifting apart from each other until I was only left with like tired, but everything I have to do, but loving it. B'simcha. And then tired just like floated away. I said, okay, Hashem, I can do this. But I didn't trust myself yet. It was still like fragile. I wasn't gonna like, so I took one leg off the bed and I was watching. Is this for real? Is this happening? Oh, I'm still okay. And I took the other leg off the bed and I was sitting straight. Okay. Then I walked to the laundry room. And then my kid came and asked me something, like where his something was that clearly, if you just open your eyes, you can find it, which would have been a whole other snappy, snorty kind of a mother response of a fatigued mother fed up. But no, I like answered, Tatala, my sweet one, my loving person, let me go help you find your thing that's like right there in front of your eyes that you needed to take me out of the lunchroom to help you find it. But it was like, wow. And it was so light. And you know, all the tired, didn't feel it. It took like 10 minutes. I didn't even feel. I was like dancing the whole way through the rest of the thing.
So you were already doing visual meditation.
But I guess.
Right.
That was like an incredible,
You're so
maybe,
it's inherent in you.
maybe, but I didn't, from that time till like recently, I haven't gone back to it, but okay, anyway, but
You don't know that you have it, you just haven't been conscious.
it's true, I haven't, yeah. Okay, so someone who thinks he's like only relying on his own resources, you're going to be tired, you're going to be fatigued, right? But if you're a servant of Hashem, you have the koach of Hashem coming in to help you, and that's koach ein sofi. 1 minute, and if a person doesn't do that, he can forget what it's mutar alav, what he needs to do, and instead lishko beredifach. And instead, he'll only be sinking into the chasing of hatzlacha, personal hatzlacha, and not the Hashem's hatzlacha, what would be considered Hashem's hatzlacha. And the neshama's hatzlacha over the guf. When we are melachim, when we are mamlech, the power of itbonenut, the power of our ritzonot tovim, like our good desires, over everything that's the creature comforts that don't like when we're like to be as holy as we are, because it means we have to give up something, right? We have to give up comfort. When we're overcome that, we become powerhouses, and it's Hashem's power, because it's the power of the neshama. It's not the power of the goof, because the goof is tired. What did you want to say?
Just that Reb Shlomo was like that. He would be. It was so apparent that he was so connected with Hashem all the time, and he would fly to a place, and he would say, "Oh, I'm tired like a dog," but then he would start learning with everyone, and
He'd get the life.
Yes,
It's a neshama just taking over, and the neshama has endless power.
And he did this for like, I don't know, 30, 40 years, whatever it was. He would fly to one place tired tired everybody out, and then he would fly to the other place and he would do the same thing. But it was just so apparent that he was so connected. He was getting
The koach from not from
infinite
himself.
koach of
Yeah.
Hashem. That's what he was plugged into.
Yeah.
So I learned this week something beautiful about what you just said about overcoming,
Yeah.
you know, and being able with Hashem's help.
Yeah.
That every time we do that, it's a yichud, unifying
Yes.
Shekhinah,
Beautiful.
and with the klal.
Right.
And
Beautiful.
not only that, but I got an image when I was learning this, that not only are we able to move on, but we're
Elevate.
feeding the Shekhinah.
Yes. Yes.
We're sending like jewels up there.
Yes.
To, yeah. So
Yes.
every time
That's
I
how
have
it
to go
works.
through something like you just explained,
Yeah.
I'm picturing now, but she's gonna get jewels.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. There's psukim that speak about jewels in the Shekhinah. She's compared to the kala that gets 24 gifts. And those are the jewels that 24 pieces of jewelry that a kala gets. Don't
Yes,
feel
it's
bad if you
somewhere.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Don't. Whatever. Okay. No, but it's a mashal for ruchani things. But okay. Yeah.
What is the significance of 24?
I'm like I'm not accessing that file. I was trying to access, hoping that the file would open, but it's not opening. I have to like open up the. It's a pasuk in Shira Shirim, I think. I have to get back to that. Okay, so now continue. L'u'mat zot, opposite of that, against that, בשעה שאדם מרגיש עצמו כעבד הניצב בארמונו של המלך, when a person feels that he's standing in the palace of the king. Rosh Hashana, we're entering the palace. Elul is the king is in the field. Rosh Hashana is going into his palace, and we're invited into the palace with him. The fact that we are associated with the king, and we're talking about the king of kings, right? This is Melech Malko Shel Olam. The most benevolent, greatest king ever. So when we're standing in the presence of the king and we're invited into the palace of the king, what gets exposed to us is our value, our royal value, because we're part of the royal entourage. We're part of the royal, army. We're part of the royal entourage. Like, is there a better word for this? Household. What?
Procession, I said.
Procession? He recognizes himself as a part of a greater body. Like a limb in the nation that gives the king his stature, his elevated stature. In that he gives expression to his kavod in reality. So we're expressing it, right? Like me doing that exercise on myself to get out of bed and being sweet and not snappy. I was like this. This is Hashem's nachas. It's Hashem's glory, because it's not my tired body that's getting the yasher koach here. It's the koach of the nefesh that was able to overcome, and that's Hashem. And so when I do that, I'm giving expression for that greater malchus of Hashem. In reality, I have refined reality. I've brought more light into reality. So when we recognize that our value as our royal value, the true value that we have as people, the true inner value and worth, and when we give expression to the great potential, the great potential that's within us, betor eved shel melech, as a servant of the king, that represents him and is used as a tzinor, as a pipeline for revealing Hashem's word in this world. This is not about me. It's about representing Hashem in this world. When you do that, you get your koach. There's no such thing, I don't have koach. When we feel emotional fatigue is because we're not connected to that. We think it's only us. And so we're fatigued because really it's only us. How much could you overcome already? You're just like, what are you? We're here and we're gone. We're here and we're not here. It's losing touch with being godly and being part of the royal household and entourage and procession and everything like that. And so every day of the year we have to see that. But during the year the hester is there, where the king is not making himself so accessible. We have to do more hishtadlus on ourselves on the day-to-day. Elul becomes more accessible. And on the Ser Simei Tshuva, beginning with Rosh Hashana, it's even more there. So we have to chap that. We have to like really tap into that truth of what our value is. When a person wakes up from his sleep, he sees himself in a wider, more expansive way, as a representative of the king. So what happens? If I see myself as a representative of the king, you know what comes into sharp focus? I understand how my behavior up until now was so small when I only saw myself as a separated being, not connected to the king. That's where the tshuva thing comes in. So we have to hold on to two things: my smallness when I'm disconnected, but my greatness when I'm connected. And both are true. How much the horizons of our life were so much constricted, not worthy of our true inner value. He understands the weakness of his actions, his rebelliousness of the treasure, the true treasure that he is, the sgula, the ability that he has. The treason against the king of the world, his king of the world, which is none other than the treason, the hurtful treason against one's own self, our neshama, in his own ruling power. We get ruling power as being the tzigim of Hashem's malchus in the world. And so it's not just Hashem that we're boged in, rebellious against and acting with treason. It's our own true value. With understanding that, we'll understand the depth of what it means that Rosh Hashana is Yom HaDin. Where's the din? This can be compared to a servant coming into the palace of the king and all of a sudden understands his inner value. Whoa, I'm not just some dishwasher in the kitchen of the king. I'm a servant in the king's palace. And I have the choice of preparing the dishes for the king to eat off of. That's an important job. Every job that you do in the palace of the king, you're serving God. It's like there's nothing minimal about it. There's nothing unimportant about it.
It's also dangerous. What?
Okay.
What's dangerous? Being the cook in a king's.
Okay. Okay. But if you don't understand your job, then okay, so a little salt, more salt, who cares? If you understand, you're less likely to make mistakes. You're going to ensure everything that is going to be meduyak, because I'm serving the king and it has to be perfect. And there's no place for laziness, complacency, undervaluating my worth in this enterprise called the king's palace. It's unlikely that I'm going to give in to weakness. See, it's all a matter of how much aware you are of the role. Mechayev obligates me. How much I understand my role, that's how much I'm going to step up to it. I'm going to have that yirah that we need so much. But yirat romemut, it's not yirah of onesh. It's not just a fear of punishment. It's yirat romemut, the fear of understanding the elevated status of Hashem, that I have to live up to my part. The reason for which, my inner worth, the reason for which why I am like existing in this palace. So when we are aware of that, then I have a comparison, an internal comparison is coming up in me. The two values that are coming up are my true value that is lighting up my heart right now, understanding that I'm a servant of the king, and boy, am I ever important, and boy, should I better take all my actions, my machshavot, my dibur, my say, seriously, because I do matter, and it has significance and ramifications in this world, because I'm representing Hashem. But on the other hand, with that also rises something else, mitziut chaya v'regila v'reduda. The reality of how we live our life on a day-to-day that's very superficial, and we get embarrassed from that, from those times that we don't rise to the occasion. And both are happen. התעוררות להכיר את ערכו הפנימי, את המוטל עליו מתוקף כוחו המלכותי, מביאה אותו לביקורת קשה ונוקבת על מסע ויום-יום. So the awakening to recognize our true worth and that which is upon us as shlichim of Hashem, from the strength, from being part of the royal whatever it is, Mevielta brings us to an internal bikoret. It's not criticism, but supervision. Yeah, it's criticism. The ted bikoret in Hebrew is like you're giving supervision to somebody, you're criticizing somebody. So we're internally seeing how we're measuring up. We're doing our own judgment. Al masav yom yom. Do you know what the din of Rosh Hashana is? That's the din. Who's being the judge here? How much we judge ourselves, that's going to be the value of the judgment we're going to get. How much we understand our worth, and how much we understand how superficially we've been living in accordance to that, that defines the judgment. So let's read on. מצד אחד הוא רואה את מעשיו וצורת חייו הרגילה, מצד שני הוא חש את ערכו הפנימי, וממילא נוצרת השוואה בין שני המצבים. לא רק אצל העבד מתעוררת השוואה הזו לגבי העבד, אלא גם אצל המלך בעצמו. So this השוואה, this comparison between my own newly discovered understanding of my own self-worth, tremendous, and my own like comparing that to where I'm really holding vis-a-vis that, is not only being raised in the servant, but also in the king himself, who's looking at the Eved, who's looking at the servant, and he sees those two polars in this person's personality. From one hand, he's like the servant of the king, and he's it's worthy for him for all kinds of masim, appropriate things as Netziga Melech, as a representative of the king. But on the other hand, that on the other hand, during the year, oftentimes we forget that role. He says that this comparison is the depth of understanding of what the din is of Rosh Hashanah. HaDin hu etzem hashva bein hapotential hapnimi uvein hamatzav habefol. The judgment is the comparison of my potential and what comes out in actual life. How much of my potential of that awesomeness of Netzig Hashem, and how much that gets actualized or doesn't. L'maseh hadin, that's what Hashem is looking at. You have a potential. How much are you living to your potential? Hadin hu tvia lishtaput, and the judgment is a call, tvia din. It's a sentence. It's a call, lishtaput, to improve. So we show up on Rosh Hashanah. We have to understand our potential, our greatness, the truth of it. We also have to understand how lacking we are at certain times of living to that potential. And we have to say, I can improve, that I have to be improved. ואולם כל הבסיס לתביעה מאדם להשתפר הוא שאדם אמור להתנהג טוב יותר מתנהגותו בפועל. So what comes up of this, we have to decide that we're going to change our behavior before actualizing it, seeing the good, bringing up more good. לא שייך לתבוע דבר שאינו טמון בפרטיאס potential, because you can't ask of somebody something that's not there in potential in that person. Hashem doesn't ask us to be angels. It's not our potential to be an angel, but could we be the best that we can be, overcoming all the weaknesses? Just like we can't expect a donkey, we can't demand from a donkey to speak, although, okay. The speaking for a donkey is not something that it's not built into his potential. The judgment is looking at us in the ideal in terms of our potential. The situation that is appropriate for a human being to rise to. When the ideal is ascending and is lit up in all its strength, so then we can understand, when we come into our potential, when we come into an understanding of what our potential is, then we can honestly look at where we're not living up to that potential. So therefore, we start at 10 o'clock on Mondays.
Oh.
But welcome. It's okay. It's okay, Sid. You'll get something. You'll get whatever you get.
There's still pearls of wisdom.
Where you're going when you're supposed to be.
Okay.
It's still being taped.
It's still being taped. I can share the recording. This is such an important lesson to know before Hashana. Know like that the presence in the palace of the king itself births the judgment. Itself brings about the judgment. Yom Hamlachat Hashem Yotzer et Tokef HaDin. The day of crowning Hashem as king brings about the Tokef HaDin, the strength of the din, the din itself. Because it brings about the comparison between the present of what's supposed to be, and the present that has been up until now. So on Rosh Hashana, Kadosh Baruch Hu megalet midat malchuto. He reveals the midah of his malchus. B'yom malchuti zeh hamtziut inena meira be'ora haragil. And the Rosh Hashana illuminated the thing in its normal dosage, and normal voltage. It's coming. It's intensified. B'Rosh Hashana nochechut hamelech shofachat or. On Rosh Hashana, the presence of the king, shofachat or, pours out light on every single thing in creation, in reality. This light surrounds everything, and reveals the potential within everything, because the malchus of Hashem is revealed. So then, when Hashem is revealed, then I can see myself. Oh my gosh, that's the potential. Where am I? But whoa, this is my potential. And I have to live up to it. The potential, which is the mission of each and every detail in reality. The standing before the king shines to creation, its mission. So every single prat, every single individual detail in creation is being scanned and evaluated and tested according to the mission that was its part to bring into the reality. This is something that comes out from being exposed to the light of Hashem's kingship. So from here we understand the yirah, the fear, the awesomeness of Yom HaDin. Yirah is fear, but yirah is also otiot re'iyah, to see. What are we seeing? What are we seeing? That's going to lead us to Yirat Hashem. We're seeing Hashem himself. We're seeing our potential in Hashem. The godly potential that each one has. We're exposed to that. We are servants of the king, and we need to be appropriate servants of the king, rising to all the levels, actualizing the potential of the neshama, not giving into the goof. We're seeing it. מכאן ילמד כי היראה של יום הדין יראת הרוממות היא. It's the fear of, the fear is not, we're not associating fear from fear of punishment. Okay? It's the fear of messing up my potential, not living up to my potential. It's respecting and loving my potential, loving Hashem. And it's like the example I heard from, I don't remember which one of my rabbis. It may have been a Rav Biller, it may have been from somebody else. Like when you love somebody, you don't want to hurt them. So let's say you're a couple, okay, a husband and wife. So the husband is coming in, he sees his wife sleeping. Why isn't he going to wake her up? Why is he going to be extra quiet? It could be for two different reasons. Either because if he wakes her up, he's going to get it. Or it could be, Rahmanas, she's tired. How could I disturb her sleep? I'm going to do everything out of fear of bringing disturbance into her life. And that's Yirat HaRomemut. I love Hashem so much that I'm fear bringing any kink in the system of negativity or anything chatzitza, anything that's going to harm the balance of goodness in this world. And I'm going to be extra careful not to do things that I shouldn't be doing because I love Hashem. I'm fearing Hashem out of love of Hashem. Yirat Romemut. It's the Yirav. Amida mul gvahim adirim shel madregot potentialot. When we stand before heights of potential that we're finally coming in touch with. This is my potential. Novati mikoach ha'ava. It's coming out of the power of love, that Hashem planted within us. Because only somebody who was given a great mission is standing before very big tests and demands that Hashem has of us that are uncompromising. Hashem is uncompromising. He says, Kedoshim tihiyu. We have to be Kedoshim, not Keilu kadosh, not halfway measure, not chatzi kadosh. Kedoshim tihiyu. We have to be holy. Is it within our potential to be holy? Yes. Yes. Do we have challenges coming in our way and saying you don't have the koyach to be that self-sacrificing and that holy? Yeah. Do we have the koyach to overcome it? Yeah. Do we feel sometimes that we don't have because of all the fatigue and tired and mitzvim? Yeah. But can we actually, where are we going to get that koyach from? Hashem. What's the koyach of Hashem that's poil in us? It's called our,
what in us?
That's poel, that's activated in us. That's our neshama. I have to believe in the God that's in me, that's chelek eloka, that I'm drawing the reserves of the koch from that reservoir of koch, not my body, goof, tired. That's limited. That's going to end up being buried in the ground one day. It's going to be corrupted. It's going to decay. I'm not relying on my goof. I'm not relying on my sechel. I'm not relying on anything. I'm not relying on nothing. I'm relying on something that's me'ala teva. Where is it? It's within me to access with a lot of davening, with a lot of belief.
It's a huge journey. A lifetime journey.
Sometimes a few lifetimes.
We start as children being taught to have Yirat Hashem, but we don't understand what that means as children.
So the Rambam says we start off with fear of punishment and reward. You're going to do this nice thing, you're going to get a candy. You don't, something is going to be taken away from you. It starts because that's a seichel, the nefesh. The nefesh is the lowest level of soul that's associated with the body. The animals have that. That's a trainable thing. We don't have the capacity to understand anything more than that. But at bar and bat mitzvah, something else kicks in. We have something called, we're able to spiritually advance from that very small-minded understanding of punishment and reward. It comes into our consciousness.
But then when
if you're exposed to it.
Yeah, but as you grow and you go from Yirat Hashem to Ahavat Hashem,
yeah,
and learn that.
Yeah.
Only after you get to a certain point in your life are you able to come back full circle?
So Yirat
and
Romemut.
come back to Yirat Hashem, which then you
The
realize
elevated
is
Yirat.
so awesome
Yeah.
that when you get
No,
to
you're
that point,
you're a powerhouse of ability to just,
so
you're not,
it's a lifetime.
you know,
of
like, let's say we're talking about
development.
shluchim of the Rebbe, Chabad. Where do they get their koach from? Only from God, but they get it also from the Shalia, the tzaddik who perfected himself, that was a complete representative of that koach Hashem of Shinor, and say, I'm not relying on this, I'm relying on the hiskashrus with the Rebbe. The koach, and so Chassidus says we don't do anything without tzaddikim. V'yaminu b'Hashem uv Moshe avdo. We not only believe in Hashem, we believe in the representative of Hashem, the tzaddikim. We're tapping into their strength. We're gaining from them.
They attach ourselves to
Kashrut.
And
Hareini
it's
mikasher etzmi, and also in
remarkable.
in Breslov also we say there's a formula.
what's
הריני מקשר עצמי לכל הצדיקים האמיתיים אשר בדורנו, לכל הצדיקים האמיתיים שוכני עפר אשר בארץ המה, ובפרט רבנו הקדוש, רבי נחמן בן פייגה, זכותו יגן עלינו, רבי נחמן בסן. Translate, הריני מקשר עצמי, I am connecting myself to all the tzaddikim of the generation, האמיתיים, the true tzaddikim of the generation, and all of those tzaddikim that are shochnefal, that are lying in the dust, that are in the earth, whatever, and especially to Rabbi Nachman ben Fegas Chuto Ganelin.
So that answered my question, which is you can attach yourself to many.
Yeah,
Oh,
you,
sure.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We learn all the time
From different-
Yael. She
right.
pulls from all kinds of
Yeah. So we can't do this. I know
Saying that
So
covers
awesome.
you.
it covers you because I'm understanding that me and my own limited, and what do I know? I know Mamanki. I read, and that's as much as I know. But tzaddikim who did all the work, the Torah is their whole pnimius is lighting up their pnimius. Rabbi Nachman has a lesson in that. When you rely on the koach of the tzaddik, when you're it's like being in the palace of the king. It's not my koach that's going to do. It's the power of the king. I have all of the king's resources now coming to help me to do what I do. So if I attach myself to the tzaddik, I'm not relying on my koach. I'm relying on the tzidkus of the tzaddik. And if I'm attaching myself, the whole point of his kashrus, of connection to a tzaddik, is that I'm not relying on me, I'm relying on his tzidkus. And I'm part of his court. And so don't look at me as an individual. You're going to see lots of holes and lots of flaws. But so Rabbi Nachman says, so hold on to my coat. You do things l'shem shamayim. If you can't master your own self, then you're good. Because you come part of the bigger kibbutz, of the bigger kibbutz. And that's the potential of Am Yisrael be'achdut. That's what it is. We're in this together. And that's all the koach, etch nishama, individually, us, the gifts that we send to the Shechina. We're building the Shechina, because the Shechina is the shoresh of all our neshamas. Together, we're Knesset Yisrael, which is another way of saying the Shechina Kedosha. We're building a structure of Malchus of Hashem in this world. We're creating a yichud by revealing Hashem's presence through the Shechina. But it's everyone doing it that we're revealing more and more aspects of it. Okay, so let me just finish the paragraph here. So here we learn Yirat Romemut, because we're standing in front of, facing our potential, and it's coming from the tremendous love that Hashem planted within us. Because only someone who is given a high task stands before tests, very big tests and very big demands that are not uncompromising of the demands to fulfill that potential. The more the servant is precious and important, so too his power and his segula is more elevated. And so too the Din comes to be medayek, is looking at us. This is what I'm demanding. You want to know why you have all of these things that you have to go through in life? Because you have a potential to bring out from these places. It's you got this hard story to live through because you have that much light to bring into this world. Giving in is not part of the script. It's not for you. You're missing the whole, you're not reading it right. Hashem will not rest and will not weaken his hold on us until we reach that supernal light that is ours, that is part of what our neshama's tafkid is. This is the depth of understanding of what the din is on Rosh Hashanah, and the depth of the great goodness that is hidden within that din. Yirat Son, we shall live up to our potential.
Amen. Amen.
And it should be good gzerot, it should be good dinim. In a reveal, we should see the potential we have. We should gain strength to know that we can overcome, we shall overcome. We're not relying on our own strength. We're relying on Hashem's ability to carry us through everything. And that's called being Mamlech Hashem, where we are reigning Hashem as king, understanding that we are only servants in his palace, and it's the koach of the king that gives us the koach, and it's the value of the king, how much we appreciate and value the king, that elevates our own standard, and we have to get rid of this small voices that we don't matter. We have to stop with that we don't matter. We matter. Hashem is relying on us to bring the malchus of Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. We're up to it. We're up to the task. Are we up to the task?
Yes. I understand why a lot of people are threatened by becoming observant because of the responsibility involved.
Yeah,
It's
some people
huge.
are. Some people are. I had when my kids, they know me. Sometimes they like, Ima, calm down. When I learn something, I want to do it. So when I was going through the Shulchan Aruch and I was learning about tzitzis and tefillin, guess what Ima wanted? It's like I was so like it's like I felt like. And then I learned just learning it with the ratzon of doing it. I don't have to do it. It really, my kid said, Ima, if you ever do it, do me a favor when we're all married. That's when you start doing it, not before.
It might have been a man.
But who knows? But what did I want? Why am I telling you this? True confessions, but why? The ratzon. That's why we started. Oh. But you know what? It's not my kids that stopped me from doing it. You know what? Because women are allowed to. There's a thing with tzitzis, it could be begadish, we might not have to, but fill in, we're allowed to. So I'm saying, get over it. What do you, I'm allowed. But I didn't because I was afraid of the responsibility. I was afraid of too much light. I didn't think I would be able to handle the light. That was really like the fear. Yeah.
And then you're obligated.
And then once you put it on, you can't be like, you can't do it like a girl. You have to do it like a man. You have to do it like, if you're doing it, you're doing it. Yeah. But that didn't bother me. But it was more like, am I going to be able to live up to the potential of the light of what's going to demand me? And I don't know if I can break myself to those bits.
It's a responsibility.
Yeah.
About the cook in the king's house.
The cook.
Yeah, you were saying how the cook is responsible for taking care of the king's dietary needs, etc., etc. And I said it's a very big responsibility. And then you said something about how we're all responsible for each other and Yahat Hashem and Ahavat Hashem. So what I'm wondering is, since the cook, for example, is responsible to make sure that nobody poisons the food that comes to the king as well, he's completely responsible. Does that also enter into that, as Am Yisrael, we are responsible for bringing that light into the world, just like the cook is responsible for making sure the king.
You know what's going on in my head now? A song from Fiddler on the Roof. A blessing on your head, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. That was so beautiful what you just said. It was like so beautiful, like kiss your forehead, kissing your forehead right now.
Oh, so I'm on target.
No, it's beautiful because we are Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Lezeh. And when one person drills a hole in his canoe, the whole canoe sinks. And also, there is a mitzvah called tochacha. We have to rebuke each other. But as Rabbi Nachman taught us, as Rabbi Akiva taught us, you can't. Who knows who's in the position of giving rebuke? If you don't do it from 100% love, that the communication through the rebuke is so lo matim lecha, and you're elevating the person and revealing the potential of what that person should be behaving like, and then only say, like, lo matim, and then they'll say, thank you for telling me this. I don't want to walk with like parsley in between my teeth. I don't want to walk with bad words in my mouth. I don't want to with this bad behavior. Thank you for bringing me to the awareness that this is not how a prince and a princess behave. But unless you could do it with 100% love, you shut your mouth and you don't say anything. But you can turn it into davening. You can then go and say the kudot tovot and then daven to Hashem. Hashem lead the. You have to first of all do it, but Hashem send me the right words. I feel like I have to have this conversation with them. But until you feel like you can do it from a place of love, you don't say it. And that's the responsibility, because the responsibility is to build, not to destroy. And we're weak to criticism. We're weak. We feel like, like knocked off our feet when somebody tells us something, points something out that that's something wrong with us. We have to be careful. We have to be responsible for each other.
But Hashem built the system in, because
To do what?
that if I see something in you, I need to examine it myself.
That's the Baal Shem Tov, it's the mirror, the whole thing.
So it's already built in.
So we have
we have to
rabbis.
do it ourselves.
So we have rabbis that actually, when they felt like they had to rebuke something, like they would have to, but they would first take themselves in the room and cry about like why, if they saw it, it means there's something in themselves, and unless they were able to do tshuva for that which they saw in another person in themselves, they wouldn't do it.
Oh.
They wouldn't do it.
Whoa.
That's a level. It's a whole other level.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To be
But
in,
we're
to
not
be
always
in tune
looking.
like that. To be in tune like that.
Yeah, but when you say it, don't believe that you can't do it. It's a level. It's a level, and it's another voda for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
11.